June 11th, 2020. In the midst of a global pandemic, E3 is cancelled and the gaming world is transitioning to a new generation. Sony is headlining its own show, The Future of Gaming. The headline news: the reveal of the PlayStation 5. 3 quarters into the show, we get a shocking reveal. The original Demon's Souls for the PS3 is getting the remake treatment by none other than Bluepoint Games, and it's the PS5 launch title. Fast forward 6 months to December. Demon's Souls is certified gold. It sold over 1 million copies in a year, reaching 1.8 million by late 2023, with a Metacritic score of 92. Sony landed a day one hit, and it was all thanks to Bluepoint, a third-party studio that had been invaluable to Sony for years despite a lack of mainstream appreciation. Since its inception in 2006, Bluepoint has been a pillar for PlayStation, developing Blast Factor, one of the very first ever games on PlayStation Network, the God of War Collection, the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus Collection, the Nathan Drake Collection, plus Gravity Rush Remaster. But their first true magnum opus was the Shadow of the Colossus remake. Bluepoint may not have been a golden child like Naughty Dog or Insomniac, but they were the undisputed kings of collections and ports. They proved their specialty even beyond Sony exclusive with titles like MGS HD Collection. However, the Demon's Souls remake took them into the major spotlight. They nailed it. It seemed only natural when, in 2021, Sony announced the acquisition of Bluepoint Games. After years in the lower leagues, this felt like the start of a brand new era for this gem of a studio. Sadly, it was the beginning of the end. There was one shocking reveal though. As Bluepoint descended to closure, the mystical saga of the Bloodborne remake was actually true. And it's a rabbit hole that is far deeper than anyone thought. This is the slow descent of Bluepoint Games, the incompetent utilization by Sony, and the saga behind the Bloodborne remake. September 30, 2021, Sony hails Bluepoint as the newest member of PlayStation Studios. Since then, only one major announcement has been made in 5 years, and that was the studio's closure. It is baffling how misused Bluepoint was. They aren't Santa Monica or Naughty Dog, we got that, but that's not the point. This is a highly specialized unit known for breathing new life into existing blueprints. To take a studio with unmistakable identity and assign them a live service game is beyond belief. According to Jason Schreier in numerous reports, Bluepoint's first task after the acquisition was a live service title set in the God of War universe. While the studio reportedly vied to create something original after assisting on God of War Ragnarok, leadership assigned them a genre they had zero experience in. At the time, Sony was all in on the live service genre, games designed for continual monetization. According to Bloomberg, the hope was that this project would support sequels and spin-offs like a smaller version of the MCU. Players would control different versions of Atreus fighting through Hades, Greek mythology's version of Hell. But Bluepoint's talent was concentrated in art and engineering, meaning they could bring any vision to life through their concept arts and coding any existing plan. One thing they really lacked on was, though, original game design, and that's to be expected for a studio that spent 18 years remastering and remaking games. Second problem, live service is a different beast. Even highly experienced studios struggle to tame that beast. It's a story I mentioned numerous times in my videos on the stories of Suicide Squad, Dispatch, and publishers like Ubisoft. And by no means was Bluepoint equipped for this task. And some within the studio grumbled that they should be working on a traditional single-player game like Ragnarok or Demon's Souls. For 2 years, the studio struggled until Sony canceled the project in January of 2025. But it wasn't all terrible. This cancellation finally gave them the chance to propose their own idea. Fans had been dreaming of a Bloodborne remake for years, and the thought has been strongly considered within Bluepoint Games. And at one point, it was even expected within the studio, but never entered production. In early 2025 though, Bluepoint again pitched the idea of Bloodborne Remake. The studio was told the numbers made sense, but FromSoftware didn't want it to happen, according to reports by Bloomberg. And this is where the deep rabbit hole starts. For more than a decade, the rumors and speculations on why Bloodborne keeps getting ignored have been wild. And there is, without a doubt, internal politics involved that's blocking this game from getting a port or remaster treatment. Here's where the story diverges. 1. There's one undeniable fact to this whole saga. And the fact is that there's someone in Sony or FromSoftware's hierarchy that doesn't want Bloodborne to get remake or remastered. That's a fact. 2. This is where the unshakable truth vanishes into speculation and theories. There's someone blocking progress on Bloodborne, but we don't know who or why. Two key news have broken out in the past 2 years, which seem to detail into the inside stories. Former Sony Interactive president Shuhei Yoshida gave his personal theory on why Bloodborne project has been shoved aside constantly during a Kind of Funny Games interview.
SaneU.com says, "Will we ever see Bloodborne again?"
Oh, yeah.
Screw 'em.
Well, I have only my personal theory
Okay.
to that situation. My theory is, because I remember, Miyazaki-san really loved Bloodborne, what he created. And so I think he is interested, but he's so successful and he's so busy. So he cannot do himself, but he doesn't want anyone else to touch it. So that's my theory. And the PlayStation team respect his wish.
So it seems like Sony is respecting Miyazaki's wishes, the mastermind behind Bloodborne, into not making another game despite owning the IP. Or so it seems. Here's where the story takes another twist. In a 2024 interview with PC Gamer, Miyazaki said, "I know for a fact these guys want a Bloodborne PC port. If I say I want one, I'll get in trouble as well, but it's nothing I'm opposed to." He further elaborates, "Obviously, as one of the creators of Bloodborne, my personal pure honest opinion is I'd love more players to be able to enjoy it, especially as a game that is now coming of age. One of those games of the past that gets lost on older hardware. I think any game like that, it'd be nice to have an opportunity for more players to be experienced that, and to relieve the relic of the past. So as far as I'm concerned, that's definitely not something I'd be opposed to." This right here is where Sony gets cornered. I understand Yoshida's earlier claim that Miyazaki doesn't want anyone to touch Bloodborne apart from his studio, in terms of a remake or even a remaster. And for anyone that doesn't understand the dangers of a remaster, go check out White Light's video, "You Don't Hate Remasters Enough." It's a fantastic essay. Now, maybe FromSoftware might be opposed to a remake or remaster treatment, but they definitely wouldn't be opposed to a PC or a PS5 60 FPS port, and that's according to Miyazaki himself. So I don't fully believe Sony merely telling Bluepoint that FromSoftware simply rejected the Bloodborne remake idea. No, there's definitely a more than meets the eye story, especially when the FromSoftware crew themselves are vying for more players to enjoy the game. A newly recurring rumor suggests this. FromSoftware wasn't entirely satisfied with the Demon's Souls remake. Some fans criticized it for altering the original art style, taking unique spins on fantasy tropes like mind flayers and replacing them with generic Western interpretations. This friction isn't new. As far back as 2009, with the release of the original PlayStation exclusive Demon's Souls, Sony and FromSoftware had a clash regarding the direction of the game. Sony wasn't convinced by FromSoftware's more grueling spin on the action RPG genre and outright refused to publish it in the West. Sony still published the game in Japan, but not for the US and European audiences. You know who came in and did though? Bandai Namco, who ended up being their long-term partner to the present. And according to Shuhei Yoshida himself, FromSoftware was already working on a new sequel, but they were so disappointed with how it was treated by Sony, the studio chose to work with Bandai Namco on a spiritual successor instead, leading to the immensely successful and popular Dark Souls trilogy. The relationship between FromSoftware and Sony was repaired eventually after the release of Dark Souls 1, and it led to, you guessed it, another PlayStation exclusive, and then again with another controversy. Here's my personal take. I don't think FromSoftware dislikes Demon's Souls Remake. Their team complemented different aspects of the game, including its stunning visuals on occasions. But even if they disliked it, they never go publicly and criticize the game because they're developers that respect the efforts and vision of other studios. FromSoft coming out and ripping Bluepoint would literally be a death sentence for such a small studio. Possibly, there might have been aspects of the remake FromSoft would have done differently and taken in an alternative direction regarding the remake. That could be the case, and that's how most artistic endeavors go, so it's fine. And perhaps it's possible they want 100% control over their masterpiece that is Bloodborne. But this is just my personal belief. The Bloodborne saga will echo for years, but one thing is clear. Sony doesn't want Bloodborne to be on PC. After all, almost every single PS exclusive starting from The Last of Us to Spider-Man to God of War, Ratchet & Clank, Horizon have been ported to PC. Do you know the only game that didn't? Demon's Souls Remake. For whatever reason FromSoftware rejected the Bloodborne remake, I personally respect it, as they're dealing with a company that's more concerned about locking a game to a specific hardware to drive sales, even if that game is more than 10 years old in an unsupported console. That seems the final resolution for Bluepoint in their request for a remake, and it turned out being their last big hope. The studio then proposed making an updated Shadow of the Colossus port for the PS5 with new bosses and content, but it got rejected. A new idea was thrown into the mix, creating a spin-off in the Ghost of Tsushima/Yotei franchise, but it never got anywhere. And a year later, in February of 2026, Bluepoint Games was shut down. It's a tragic end for a niche studio undone by poor leadership. Jim Ryan's era of live service focus has cost Sony dearly, leading to the loss of Bluepoint, Japan, and London studio, the masterminds behind Gravity Rush, The Last Guardian, and tons of PS2 and 3 games. Under a single-player focus model, kinda like the one under Andrew House, these studios might have thrived. You will be missed, Bluepoint. But as for Bloodborne, the mystery will continue to echo.